everybody, welcome back to another Sewcialites 3 video. Today we're going to sew up block number 21, the Dreamy block, designed by Sherri of A Quilting Life. This block is marked as intermediate. I'm sewing both the 6 and the 9-inch blocks. I just sewed the 9-inch blocks. You can do this. Don't let this picture scare you. When I first downloaded this and I looked at that, I went, oh, this is going to take a long time. It really doesn't. And we have the opportunity to trim things down, so it's going to come out close to the exact size. I'm going to sew the 6-inch block on camera today, and I'm using the Strawberry Lemonade fabric line, which is by Sherri and Chelsi of Moda Fabrics. I already have everything cut and labeled. To make it easy to follow on camera, I followed the coloring guides here. My fabric D is yellow, my G and H are green, my F is red, and the E's are pink. We're going to use a fun tool today. I haven't used this yet for the Sewcialites videos. This is called the Creative Grids 9-inch seam guide. CGR SMN9 is the number. I'm going to link this below for you. I bought this from Fat Quarter Shop. This is a 1/2 inch wide and it has slots down the center. It can mark up to a 6.5 inch square on a diagonal. There's larger ones that you can use for bigger squares. You'll see how we'll use this to help mark our blocks. Before we sit down at the sewing machine, we're going to go ahead and prep our blocks. For this step here and this step here, we want to draw a line down the center of our fabric A squares, and then you draw another line 1/4 inch away on either side. We're going to use the ruler for that. Here's my fabric A squares. We're going to do one at a time. Now normally when I draw lines, I've done this before in a video, I'll line it up like this on my cutting mat. I'll pick a line that helps me make sure corner to corner is accurate and then use my ruler. If we have a 6.5 inch square on a diagonal, it will fit corner to corner on the ruler, but I'm using a smaller square. I'm going to line up this corner right here with the corner of my block, and then I can see right here through the little slot, there's the other corner. I'm going to hold that. You can use a mechanical pencil if you're marking down the center because the lead will fit right there in that slot. Since I'm going to mark 1/4 inch away on either side, I actually don't need to mark down the center, but this is really neat because it's got a slot right there, the pencil fits, and you can mark. I've got one of my friction pens here. I'm going to mark on either side. That's where we're going to be sewing. One line there, and one line over here. And they're 1/4 inch apart. I need to do that for all my squares. Before I mark the rest of them, I'm going to put a piece of paper down. I have a tendency to draw on my cutting mat. We've got all of these marked. One thing to note about this ruler, it's intended to use just for marking and not for cutting. They say that specifically in their how to use video. Again, I'll link that below, and Fat Quarter Shop has the Creative Grids video link to it, and you can watch that. I'm going to put this back on my design board. We're going to head over to the machine. The first thing we're going to do is sew together a fabric C to a fabric D, and then we'll press toward the D, and then sew this unit to our fabric B. Here's my fabric C and my fabric D. We are on the Juki again. I think I'm going to finish the rest of these videos on the Juki. I've got a little more space by the Juki. It's easier to set up the camera than where the featherweight is located, and unbelievably I still have the same project sitting over at my featherweight. I haven't gotten to it yet. Let's go ahead and stitch this together with a 1/4 inch seam. Just going to finger press this since we're sitting over at the machine. Get that nice and flat. We want to grab our fabric B rectangle. The fabric B is on top. Fabric C is over here on the left. That should match your fabric B, and your fabric D is right there. Let's lay this together, and we'll go ahead and sew that with a 1/4 inch seam. In the instructions, it has us pressing up toward B. On my 9-inch block, I'll be honest with you, I didn't look at the instructions for pressing, and I pressed down. I didn't have any trouble with that. I'm going to go ahead and press down toward this because this is dark. That'll keep the seam from showing through on the front of my fabric B. It's pretty good finger pressed. I'm going to go ahead and just set this aside like that. We're going to grab a fabric A and a fabric E. Here's my fabric A with the lines. Here's my fabric E. I want to make sure to put it like this so I can see those lines. So you've got right sides together. Technically this is the wrong side of my fabric A. Even though it's a solid, you really can't tell. I need to change off this foot. This is the foot with the guide. I need the foot that doesn't have a guide, otherwise it's going to be hard to sew that piece of fabric. Let's go ahead and sew down this side. I'm going to flip it around. Let's sew this side. We are going to cut this down the middle, flip, press, and trim. But before we do that, we need to do this for our fabrics A and G. I like to sew as efficiently as possible. There's no reason why we can't sew those at the same time, cut them all at the same time, and trim them at the same time. Let's grab our A's and G's. You should have 2 more fabric A's, 2 fabric G's. We're going to do the same thing, right sides together, sewing along both of those lines. I've got those sewn. Before we go to the cutting table to trim these, we can go ahead and sew our H and C's while we're sitting here. These are my fabric H's. They're going to go like this. Upper left, lower right. Fabric C is your background. Upper right, lower left. Going to go ahead and sew these. I've got these sewn together. I'm going to go ahead and finger press these toward the green, so that's toward the dark. One that direction, and then one that direction. You can see I still have that little piece of thread in between them, kind of holds them in place. Going to double check this against my diagram, make sure everything's in the correct orientation. H, H, C, C. I need to sew along this center seam. Since I pressed toward the dark, these are going to nest. Let's go ahead and sew these 2 together. On our instructions, it shows pressing this down like that. So you have an H and a C, and then pressing down. I'm going to go ahead and just finger press this one as well. Actually, I'm going to grab my little seam roller. I have one of the Lori Holt seam rollers. I have the blue one. I think now it's pink. They didn't have a pink one when I bought mine. Otherwise, I would have bought a pink one. That looks good. Now we're going to head over to the table and trim our half square triangles. You've got 3 of these to trim. I'm going to grab my ruler and we're trimming corner to corner, and then we'll go ahead and press these, and then we do have the opportunity to measure and trim down, which is great because that means your half square triangles are going to be really accurate in size. That helps your finished block be pretty much as close to perfect as it can be. These are all trimmed. I'm going to take these to the iron and I'm going to press them all toward the dark, so away from the white, like that. I've got all of these pressed, and while I was over there, I went ahead and grabbed the pieces I had finger pressed and made sure to give them a good press with the iron. If you look in your instructions, the bottom of the first page and also the top of the second page, these measurements are the same. I'm working with a 6-inch block, so I need to measure these and make sure they're 2.5 inches square. When I did the 9-inch block, they were 3.5 inches square. I have my little Kimberly Cuts 5.5-inch square mat. Got one of my triangles, and I've got a Creative Grids 2.5-inch square ruler. Very convenient, makes it easy. We've got the nice diagonal line here. You can line that up along your seam, and you can see there's going to be extra all the way around that I can trim. I have a little bit on all 4 sides. So we can do this for all of our half square triangles. They're all going to come out just the right size. Go ahead and trim all of your triangles, and then we'll work on getting our block put together. If I didn't have a 2.5-inch square ruler, I can use my 5-inch square ruler or any other ruler. This ruler also has that nice diagonal line. I'm going to lie this down on my little cutting mat, and then I'm going to measure the whole thing. I'm going to kind of even it up. See how I'm over 2.5 and I'm over 2.5? I'm going to bring that down a little bit, and I'm still over 2.5, but I've already got some I can trim here and here, so let's trim that. Now I'm going to turn this around, and now I want to line it up along the 2.5-inch lines. 2.5, 2.5. Check my diagonal, make sure I've got that nice and straight. There we go. And I still have extra to trim off on both sides. So that's how you can do that if you don't have the exact right size square ruler. Let's go ahead and lay out our block. You can see I've used all my pieces except fabric F. We'll leave fabric F on the board. I've got my picture right here to refer to. Got my F here, my little checkerboard, the H and C's. That's going to go here. My fabric D is going to go right there. And then we have our two petals. The pink, one is going to go this direction. One is going to go this direction. They point toward each other. So you have the center of the flower, kind of the base of the flower, and your petals pointing in. Then we've got our greenery. This one goes like that. This one down here goes the same direction. These actually all go the same direction. That makes it kind of easy. These all point the same direction, and your green is on a diagonal with the yellow here. Petals in, F in the center. We're ready to sew this block together. One thing I did when I sewed my 9-inch block, and you'll see me do as I sew this together, is I started here and I sewed this. Then I went ahead and cut the thread and I sewed this. I did not go down the row because everything kind of has its own little particular place in this block. I was too afraid I was going to shift anything or flip it upside down or something. So I sewed one row, then the next, then the next. Once you have the rows together, the top row presses out, the middle row presses in, the bottom row presses out, and then you can sew those two rows together and they have them pressing in toward the center. We've been sewing 20 of these blocks. This is number 21. I'm going to go ahead and run all of the sewing together. You can watch me sew that. Then we'll bring this back, we'll measure it, and we'll measure my 9-inch block. I haven't measured it yet. We'll see how good I did. Have a look at the block. I can tell I sewed this part together a little crooked. See how it's kind of wonky? I'm not going to unpick it. I'm going to turn it toward me. I've got my 6.5-inch ruler. That's pretty much exactly 6.5 inches. This is very straight. This is straight. There's a little extra here because I sewed that together crooked. Let's go ahead and get rid of that little bit so it'll make it easier to put in my quilt. A little short along the top and a little short here along the side, so I'm not going to trim any of that. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Came out really pretty. Love it. Let's look at the 9-inch block. Here's my 9-inch block, and oddly enough, I did the same thing. Isn't that interesting? This is kind of pulled up, so I must be doing something weird at my sewing machine. Let's turn this towards me. We're going to grab a ruler. Got my square ruler. Here's my 9.5. I'll line it up along that side and along the bottom. A little tiny bit short here, but much more accurate. I'm a little short down here, and then a little over here and here because I put that together crooked. I'm just going to do the same thing. Trim the little bit extra will make it go into the quilt easier. I'm not overly concerned about it being perfect. Go ahead and even that off. That looks great. Thank you for sewing along with me for block number 21, the Dreamy Block. Sorry this one's getting posted late. It's been a heck of a week and a crazy weekend. These both came together almost exactly to size. If you've been sewing with me all along for Sewcialites 3, you know I'm not overly concerned about getting it perfect. If this happens to be your first video and your block is a little wonky or a little crooked, don't worry about it. If you love your fabrics, when you get everything put together at the end, if your quilt is not perfectly square, it's still going to look beautiful. I'll be back next week, hopefully sooner, with block number 22. We just have a few more to go. Then we'll be working on the little filler or finishing blocks, and we'll be putting our quilts together. See you next week. Bye, everybody.